Welcome back to Shemsuniverse. So today, guys, we're going to discuss Libra in the moon sign position with Sidereal / Vedic astrology. So Libra is a sign of balance, harmony, cooperation, diplomacy, and when it's associated with the moon sign, it makes this person very subconsciously a sort of justice-seeking, resolute person. This is, of course, an air masculine sign. It's considered cardinal in nature. So when you have this as your moon sign, it typically means that you're somebody who likes to see things done fairly and justifiably. And that could be either a great strength of yours or detriment depending on the career occupation that you choose. So firstly, if you were to choose a positive career occupation for the Libra moon sign, such as something in arbitration or law, any sort of legal legislation, or even politics, where you're benefiting others by doing things in a fair way, even things like prosecutors, like I said, other side of the law, other side of the equation, where you're like a prosecutor, police officer, military occupant, all of those things are still exercising justice because you're giving repercussions to people who deserve it. On the other hand, if you're somebody who is not going to be inclined towards those sort of careers, it could lead to certain sets of problems just because the corporate business world, the financial world, the capitalist society that we live in is not always very friendly to people with the Libra moon sign, simply because they want things done fairly. In a capitalist world, it's really step on other people to get ahead. It's very much about dog eat dog world, and then in your subconscious mind, there's going to be a lot of turmoil. So in order to mitigate that sort of effect, my main recommendation would be what I've said before, which was the primary suggestions, which would be to go into something like law or arbitration or law enforcement, where you're able to then exercise the law and exercise justice, so you have that complete sense of fulfillment. Another thing to watch out for here is looking at your domestic needs as something that's a little bit too burdensome to your partner. And what that means is Libras tend to project onto their partner certain needs that their partner may not necessarily be able to fulfill. Extra bouts of maybe needing affection or attention, or just in the regards to what they expect from their partner in regards to looks, or just how they portray their relationship on social media. All of those things definitely come into effect. What you have to realize is before you get into a relationship with somebody, understand the way they're treating you from before the relationship is going to be the same way they're going to treat you going into the relationship for the most part. Things definitely can change and people can change, but for the most part, things will remain genuinely the same. So don't expect somebody who was exercising a certain set of behavioral patterns to then change it 6 months down the road into the said relationship. That's probably not going to happen. So just make sure that your sort of expectations have already been communicated to that said partner, and if they're willing to reciprocate, then you're in a good playground there. But if you're not, then that might be something to walk away from, because justifiably you are somebody who comes first, and you have to always make sure of that. Ironically, because you guys like to justice so much, you guys often become selfless, in the sense that you'll put other people before yourselves, to the point where you're not actually getting what you want out of business transactions. And like I said, with a relationship, make sure that your needs are still being met. I'm not saying to burden other people with what you want. Understand that you do definitely have to provide value. You guys don't really need much of a lesson on that. Saturn does exalt in Libra, so you guys definitely understand the whole idea of balance, the scales. But just understand that you need to still provide that value, and then once it gets returned to you, then it's a fair transaction. But if you're not providing it, don't expect that transaction to take place in the way in which you think. All right. Some more advice for you guys is just a simple matter of, when choosing a partner or your career, look at it from more of a long-term standpoint in comparison to short-term. Out of all the air signs, the Libra is the most sort of touchy-feely. Gemini is very detached, very fast-thinking, to the point where they think too fast, of not really thinking things through, but they're very detached. Aquarius is more of like an outsider. We're going to get to that in a future video. But with Libra, you guys have a bit of an emotional sort of, I wouldn't say it's a weakness, but it can prove to be a detriment to you, in the sense that if something feels good now, it feels good initially because you guys are a cardinal sign. You'll just start on it and then go into it, and then later on discover, I don't want to do this. People will respond to that by thinking you guys are flighty, indecisive, people that can't make up your mind. So make sure that for your public image, that you're doing things that you can definitely do decisively, and have that sense of consistency in what it is that you're doing. That's my main recommendations. This, for the most part, is a pretty good compatibility for a moon sign. Venus and the moon are pretty much neutral. I wouldn't really consider them enemies. The main enemies to the moon would be like Saturn Mars, and then the sun is sort of like a polar opposite, but they still can cohabitate. So Venus with the moon, Venus is very attractive. It makes you subconsciously have very attractive thoughts about yourself. Another extreme case with some moon signs, and according to Eastern astrology anyways, is that people with this moon sign can become very narcissistic to the point of they become so self-obsessed, they get arrogant, grandiose. This can oftentimes actually, even though it's a negative thing, lead to significant success as well. But sometimes it can also lead to you just having a very bad reputation and people saying you're too full of yourself. So just be wary of that. But aside from that, that should conclude this video. Like I said, it's a very good planetary combination between Venus and the moon. So your subconscious mind, your shadow self, that sort of part of you is very, very good in nature. And you guys are able to exemplify a lot of physical needs that you have, whether that be pleasure seeking through intimacy or your material needs like in business, career, houses, conveyances, all those things come to you guys through that level of attraction. But like I said, if you guys have any differing opinions, just please leave something in the comments for me. If you have your own sort of story, something private you want to share, DM me at Shemsuniverse 8.0. But aside from that, like, subscribe, holla at me. Tip for today, guys. Peace.